Hello, everybody. How's it going? My name is Carter Ho. Welcome to another episode of the What Really Happened podcast. As you can see, we've got no guest today. I am a little late on posting this video. I'm sorry. Some crazy stuff today and this week, but hope you're having a fantastic Feel Good Friday today. Um, got a new little bit set up today, as you can see. Um, I don't know. Want to try something around with playing with this, but yeah. Um, it's always kind of crazy to start out something different with a podcast. Every once in a while, try something new out, whether it be audio, video, or graphics, stuff like that. So I kind of wanted to try all of the above, and I'm trying a new software, streaming software called Streamlabs. Usually I did OBS, but wanted to try something new, try something a little bit different, not too big of a drastic change, but um a little bit of change of scenery, kind of see, play around, stuff like that. But yeah, so as you can see, I wanted to talk to y'all, have a podcast, maybe a little short one, who knows? We'll see where this goes. But I remember, April of 2023 would be 2 years of me doing this podcast, which is completely crazy. I mean, 2 years of doing this podcast, of the What Really Happened podcast, there's no way I would have thought it would be, anywhere where it would be at today. I mean, we still got room to grow, obviously, but it feels like, to me, I could be totally wrong. I'm so excited that everybody tunes in to YouTube and always got new subscribers, stuff like that, which I'm totally thankful for. So everybody who is either come across my podcast, search for it, look for it, listen to only a couple of seconds of it, I don't care. I just want to say thank you all for listening to it. But I kind of wanted to go back in time, kind of hop in the time machine a little bit as I catch my breath. Oh gosh, I'm so out of shape. But I kind of want to go back in time a little bit, kind of talk about my story. Kind of year and a half, 2 years in. I want to do more of a different video. I have different video podcasts planned for later down the future, so keep on, look for that. Pretty something big, exciting, but um, yeah. So for this podcast only, I wanted to talk about my story, not my story, but what's it called? I guess origins a little bit. I kind of wanted a POV type podcast, or reflection, if you will. I remember, at my very first podcast, it is awful. Like every other, like every time I open my mouth, it's awful. But yeah. So I'm just kidding. Nonetheless, I just wanted to, you know, I just thought about it when I hit record. I started thinking, like, before I hit it, I was like, man, it's almost 2 years, April 1st, 2021. I was not sure of what I was wanting this podcast to do or wanted to be, the brand behind it. I just, to kind of kick things off, I was a student at West Texas A&M University. Go Buffs! And as always, so this podcast may have the same kind of flow as a fresh one, but nonetheless, I just wanted to talk about how a point of view. So I remember going back. I remember starting the podcast, and I was a student at West Texas A&M University in Canyon, Texas, and I remember being just a big fan of podcasting. I listened to it since I graduated high school back in 2016 from Tascosa High School. I may have mentioned that or two on this podcast, but I just wanted to, come back and, I've been listening to podcasts since I was probably a sophomore, junior year of high school. They kind of came onto my radar a little bit. I would listen to so many different kinds of podcasts. Um, some of the early days, I'm kind of digging back now, were some sports ones, 30 for 30, things of that nature. I would listen to podcasts, all your TV personalities back in the day, kind of doing stuff, but that's, as far as podcasting, I didn't know a whole lot of like mainstream podcasters like there are today. Like Joe Rogan, he's been doing it forever, but he wasn't on my radar. I just knew him as a UFC commentator because I was on the wrestling team in high school. So I just knew Joe Rogan from commentating UFC. I didn't know anything about his podcast per se, but so that's he wasn't on my radar then. Just very few, like I said, sports ones here and there. 30 for 30 was a big one I listened to all the time. And just kind of, I didn't, podcasting was not on my radar in high school at all. I didn't know what I wanted to do in all, excuse me, in all honesty. Um, so what I really wanted, when I was in high school, I probably, mumbling over my words, but I wasn't probably to my junior year of high school where I gained some interest in what I really thought was a creative outlet for me. And my junior year of high school, I just made the varsity wrestling team, and I was trying to find some electives to do one day, and that traditional summer going into your junior year, or every year, at least here in Amarillo, you would have to go to your school and then kind of pick out your classes, your electives, and things of that nature. And I remember going into my junior year, I signed up, and I wanted to pick quote unquote easy classes to take. So I signed up for a journalism class and an audio and video production class. Excuse me. And I remember thinking like, I'm not sure what this is going to help me with, because for me, English was my like, I could write essays all day, and I thought whatever I was going to do, I was going to be an author of some sort in middle school. And I guess beginning of high school, I kind of thought I was going to be an author of some sort. Nowhere thought I would be in communications and doing production work or anything like that. But yeah, I I signed up for journalism, signed up for an audio video production class my junior year, and I loved it. I did middle school, or from middle school to my first 2 years of high school, for 4 years straight. I did theater, and I realized I fell in love. I won't say fell in love, but I really appreciated at that time the behind the scenes stuff. I wasn't an actor of any sort, so being on stage wasn't. I have respect for those actors who do, but I knew I wasn't an actor. So, countless plays and stuff like that, I knew acting was not my thing. And so I quickly would talk to my, high school teachers, the theater teacher, and my middle school teacher. Shout out to Miss Vincent, who would let me work on behind the scenes stuff, production stuff. That's where my passion, I guess, if you will, kind of came through. It was like, okay, this is how a production comes together. This is, the lighting, this, that, you name it. I liked it. I was probably one of the few that did. But nonetheless, I really fell in love with that. I was someone who like found that stuff fascinating for whatever reason. So I did all that stuff. And then my junior year of high school, I took journalism and audio and video production. Like I said, I really fell in love with that stuff, and I was like, "Oh, cool! You can actually write a story." Like my experience of writing or anything like that finally came through in a different style, a journalistic style of writing. Finding quotes, finding a story, this and that, and then learning how to do layouts for the yearbook and things of that nature. Really fell in love with that stuff. Loved it, and so audio video production, I was able to find out like I was able to put together a story, edit a video, and all the stuff I learned from middle school, like being behind the scenes, I was able to incorporate it and make a video and edit it and everything like that. So that's where it all kind of came out. My senior year, I took a sports marketing class, which I really liked a lot. I was able to figure out the different things in sports, and I fell in love with it all the time. And I remember a speaker came to my classroom, talked to us, and kind of asked her class, like all the students in the class, kind of a small class, goes, "Hey, what do y'all like want to like towards the end of the?" He was kind of like a periodic speaker that would come to the class and speak to us about different stuff. And towards the end of him, or towards the end of the year, he kind of asked everybody, he's like, "Okay, so what do y'all want to do after high school? If you're going to college, what do you plan on majoring in?" And I was kind of stuck there. I was like, "That's a good question," because I didn't know what I really wanted to do as a senior in high school. I knew I was going to college. I knew I was going to go to a community college to get my associate's degree in general studies. At least I had my basics. and transfer to a university somewhere. But I was like, the first degree that came to mind was journalism. Don't know why. It just came to me and I said it out loud. And I was like, he's like, oh, cool. I like, he goes, oh, you like writing and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah. So that kind of came up, but it wasn't until a little bit, like maybe a couple weeks later, different universities, it was pretty normal, would come to Emerald or come to Tascosa, excuse me, rather. And you could listen to like West Texas A&M, A&M would come, Emerald College would come, like community college, and Texas Tech, University of North Texas, Texas A&M, all these different colleges around the area would come to Tascosa, and they would kind of talk to you, kind of if you had any questions or anything like that, concerns, they would help you and kind of direct you in that path and kind of talk to you and anything like that. And it wasn't until um excuse me, it wasn't until later that I was like, okay, I'm about to graduate from high school. Kind of talked to a couple of these places. It wasn't until I started talking to someone from Texas Tech University about a department they had called I kind of told them what I was interested in, like this journalism writing, but I still like the behind the scenes and stuff. And someone talked to me about this mass communication degree, and I was like, that sounds pretty interesting. And you kind of, with mass communication, you kind of do everything: graphic design, journalism, production, you name it. You kind of, it's kind of like an umbrella. It kind of encompasses everything, if you will. And I was like, that sounds pretty interesting. So I started talking, looking up information, researching stuff, and I realized that West Texas A&M rather, WT, I'll call it WT for short, and would had one of the best programs in the area behind, along with Tech and all these other places. Uh, so I realized I'll go to Emerald College, get my associates in general studies, get all my basic core classes out of the way, and transfer to WT and get my degree in mass communication. And that was a plan, and did all that. And it wasn't until, I'm trying to think, maybe my junior year of college when I transferred to WT, that I really wanted to try something different, because I was so used to, when I was at Emerald College and WT, when I first started, I was really just writing for newspapers and magazines, and that's where I felt like my questioning kind of came in, like forming questions and forming a story, telling people stories about whatever. That's really, it came in, and that's what I wanted a podcast to be, but in audio form. Instead of you listening to or you reading something, you can just listen to it, kick back and listen to it. I wanted to be a story, tell someone's story. That's what really happened. This podcast kind of came out of, to be kind of cliche about it. I'm sorry. But yeah, so it wasn't until my junior year I really wanted to try something different other than just writing, because I felt like I was comfortable in that. I wanted to really push myself out. So looked around at different classes on my degree plan, and realized that we have a what's it called, a radio practicum, which is like a radio class that you could practice. And so you could go on live radio throughout the semester. You never really, your class, I guess you're with class, but you signed up for hours, I guess not really hours, but I guess you signed up for a shift, and that's when you went on the radio. And I was scared to death that I was going to go on radio, live radio, and talk. There's no way that I thought I could ever do it, but I did it. I loved it and wouldn't trade it for anything, because it felt like it really pushed me out of my comfort zone. And if it wasn't for that radio class, I don't really think I would have this podcast. And you could probably tell I'm not like the biggest talker, which is ironic because I have a podcast, right? But, really excited. I really loved that class, and met some new friends in that class that were radio. I've had some of them on, like Isaiah Tanner, who really comes on from time to time and talks about radio. He's a program director for the same radio station that I was on for that one semester. So it was really a lot of fun. I got to meet so many people from that radio class and radio and just in general. So one of the teachers there for that program, the radio class, was a teacher. His name was Dane. I don't know if I want to say his full name, but I don't know if he wants to or not. But he mentioned something to me about podcasting. So I was like, I'll try that out. Because during the course, you'd learn about radio, but they're also making a shift to podcasting. So I was like, you know what? Let me try this podcasting stuff. So what was cool about WT was that you can sign up as a student to go to, rent out a radio, I guess, not radio, but like an audio suite. And it was kind of, I'll show a picture of this in post production, but there's an audio suite and kind of similar to the one I have right here, but they're much more bigger, better equipment. But um, you can just record it onto Adobe Audition. It wasn't even video; it was all audio based, obviously. But um, I just really wanted to give it a shot, and I was like, you know what? If I record one podcast and edit it, simple. If I post it out there, no one listens to it, fine. If someone listens to it, cool. And I got nothing to lose or anything like that, so I wanted to try it. And I hit record. I rented out a audio suite for an hour, so I had an hour to talk about something. I didn't know what I was going to talk about, and I rented it out. Press play, and gibberish came out for an hour. And I was editing the podcast, and I was like, "This sounds horrible." I still think that to this day about me when I talk. I'll probably do this. I'm more than likely going to do this whenever I edit this video. I sound horrible, and and I was like, man, I just something about. I always hear people say like, man, I hate the sound of my voice, but after a while, you kind of like for me, you kind of grow accustomed to it. It's like I'm not really listening to me. That's whenever I have guests on, I'm just listening. Okay, this person sounds good. Blah blah blah. What do I need to patch up, edit it, do this, and anything like that. So, but when I talk, I'm like, kind of like the other way, kind of thing, you know. But I was like one of those things where I was like, oh man, I just sound horrible, and but you kind of grow with it. And I was like, I edited the podcast, my first one, and put it on to trying to think of the name, Anchor, which published it to Spotify and a couple other places. And I was like, okay, here we go. And it was April 1st of 2021, April Fool's Day. And kind of looking back at it now, I had like, at the time, like, I had like 40 something plays. And I was like, holy smokes. I was like, I didn't know what to expect. Still don't. Whenever I record and post these, I try not to look at the numbers or anything like that. If someone comments, whatever, cool, I'll reply back if I can. But I try not to look at the numbers. But that one first podcast, I was like, okay, there might be something here, and I really wanted to, you know, same thing I did with radio. I was very out of my comfort zone, but you kind of grow accustomed to it, going on live radio. But the thing about podcasting is you can always record it in post production and edit it and everything like that. You're not going live. Is what I'm trying to say. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll keep recording. Record a couple. See if I can find guests. And I was like, man, I guess I heard some responses from people like how they're liking it and things like that. And I was like, okay, I got a podcast. People are liking it, but over time, I was like, what's my brand? Like, what's my image? Because I really didn't think going into it really what I really wanted to do with it. Um, but I was like, I'm a big sports fan. Let's make it about sports. But also, I don't really just. I'm a big fan of Pat McAfee, and we're kind of going all over the place. And he's like known just for football only and sports. But I was like, I want to be able to expand my horizon a little bit. Make it like if someone has a great story about marketing or this or that, I wanted to be able to talk about that. So whenever I try to explain my podcast, it's really much like the foundation and the roots of the podcast are sports based. But I'm like, but it's so much more. I try to make it much more than that. Hopefully for you all who listen to it, having reporters on, program directors, things of that nature, because it feels like there's so much different out there. I guess if that makes sense. Um, So I felt like that's where it kind of came from over the time. It kind of grew legs of its own, I guess, in a way. But hopefully, at least that's what I'm trying to make it do. And over time, it felt like it was just one of those things. Like, man, over time, and I go back and I never listened to the podcast yet. My first one, I heard it that one time. I edited it. I can't speak, and posted it. I haven't heard it since. So maybe one day, I think later down the line, I'll do a reflection. Like maybe my 2 year mark. Let's see, April 1st, 2023. I go back and listen to it and kind of critique it and kind of hang out and see what it does. But other than that, I just I was like, man, over the time, I was like, it really became like a thing. I wanted to make it bigger. Obviously, more of it's on YouTube. My water bottle. With YouTube, it feels like I want to make it more convenient for people. That's why I kind of went to the YouTube route. Yeah. Want to make it so if you want to listen to it, you can watch it. You can, but if you also have that listening ability, you can listen to it in the background, whatever. You don't have to necessarily watch it. So I feel like I could knock out two birds with one stone type of thing. And I was like, that's pretty cool. So that's kind of been the formula. So it's crazy, kind of a point of view, long-winded question. I'm sorry, but not question, but long-winded first story. Gosh, but yeah, that's kind of my reflection point of view, POV back. Kind of looking back to it, it's like I didn't hit well. Kind of this morning, I was like, man, it's almost been 2 years since my first podcast. But yeah, so crazy. Maybe April 1st. Come April 1st, let's see. Um, we got more podcasts on one way, so I got a lot of things and stuff I want to talk about. So we're not done yet. We're barely getting started. So can't thank you all enough for listening again for that, like over time. But yeah, some crazy stuff along the way. If I can get my microphone to stay. So you know, like I said, this podcast has become kind of like a sports one. So why not? Hey, like why not stick to the roots of it, right? So we got a big weekend coming up, right? With sports. I mean, for football, it's kind of the regular season has come to an end, but the postseason is finally starting, which is completely crazy. 18 weeks have coming by, and or 17, I guess, 18 weeks have coming by, and that's completely crazy. We had Nathaniel Montoya on to talk about Week 18. So, but with this podcast, I want to talk about the Dallas Cowboys more specifically. um, so I was saying the Dallas Cowboys play on Monday. Yeah, Monday. Sorry, I had to look at the calendar. So, completely crazy that we play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers once again. This is kind of crazy because I'm looking forward to it, but not at the same time. Because there's a stat that came out saying that Tom Brady is undefeated against the Cowboys, the perfect 7-0 record. And I just have a feeling, not to, like to kind of break the fourth wall and kind of shoot, in wrestling terms, shoot. Um, I believe that I can have a little bit of biases. Have a bias, whatever. I think the Cowboys. I think obviously I want the Cowboys to win, so Tom Brady could be 7-1 and we advance to the next round of playoffs. But with that going on Monday, it feels like I'm really excited because it feels like obviously I think as a sports fan you want your team to win the Super Bowl or win the championship, no matter what sport it is. It's whether it's the Texas Rangers, the Dallas Stars, the LA Lakers. You always want them to win a championship. At least I do, because those are my teams. But yeah. So I really think the Dallas Cowboys could pull it off. Maybe, I don't know. Someone in the comments is going to disagree with that highly, and I'm cool with that. But yeah. So I think it's very possible. I think it's very possible. I mean, if Dak goes in, not scared to death. I think we could do it. But that's Monday. Looking forward to that game. And I kind of mentioned baseball earlier. So hold on. Get your liquid IV in, guys. But so I was thinking to myself before I hit record too. Is it too early to talk about baseball? I mean, think about it. Is it really too early? Thinking back, I was like, man, Man, I was like, sorry, I thought I heard something. Kind of thinking back, and I was like, man, this could really be. I'm really excited for baseball whenever it comes around. I don't know why. I'm really excited to. Sorry. Really excited to see what comes next for the Rangers because we've been some. Sorry, I thought I got a message. Really excited to see what the Rangers are going to be doing. Because we've getting some big signings lately. We've had Corey Seager and Marcus Semien playing for us, but we got Jacob DeGrom now. We got some really good player talent. It feels like coming on, and I'm really excited. Excuse me, to see how this all stuff goes because we're kind of expanded a little bit more and really building some depth a little bit and really doing something different. I remember kind of a little bit story. So I remember I graduated from West 6 WT in back of May of 2019 or 2022. Gosh dang. Gosh, dog. And my brother surprised me and he got tickets to go watch a Rangers game against the Washington Nationals in Dallas and Arlington. And we got to see, all Corey Seager and all of them play. It was really kind of crazy. And going to see Texas live, if you've never been to the new Ranger Stadium yet, you should. If you have the opportunity, then go because it feels like just Texas live, even by itself, is an experience in itself. Even if you don't go to the game, it feels like you can go to Texas Live and check out all the different places and eat and grab a beer or two. I don't drink, but 3 years no alcohol, and so it feels like you can do whatever you want. There, it's so cool. You have like every monitor is covering like almost all the walls there. It seems like completely crazy, and I'll show some pictures here, but completely crazy. I remember just seeing everything and how many fans are coming together just for the love of sports, and it feels like that's so cool that they invested in. I remember I have a lot of memories at the old stadium watching Josh Hamilton play and all those guys play and just do so many great things at that other stadium. Go to back-to-back in World Series in 2010 and 11. But yeah, it was like completely crazy to watch all that stuff and go to the new stadium. That was my second time there. Maybe up to the first time later, but the game I went to, Adolis Garcia, our outfielder, hit a walk-off homer to beat the Nationals. And I was like, that's one of the craziest experiences you go for, And it was so awesome to see something like that in, real life. You always see it maybe on TV or in a movie, but actually being there in person, it was like one of those moments that you can't describe. If you could like bottle that emotion or whatever and feeling and sell it, you'd be a billionaire. You'd be making that Elon Musk money or, Jeff Bezos money or whatever. But yeah, it was completely crazy. And completely crazy. Hopefully I want to go there one day again. But hopefully baseball season comes around the corner. I want the Cowboys to obviously do great, win a Super Bowl, and I want the Rangers to come out swinging, no pun intended, and do great. Obviously, never too early to talk about baseball, I don't think. But yeah, I just remember, got a lot of stuff coming up, guys, and I hope you have a great Friday the 13th. Let's remember today's Friday the 13th, and I hope you have a great Friday, great rest of your weekend, guys, and thank you all for listening. See ya. Bye.
I heard they checking for me, no one checking on me, so I had to go run up a check. I got the message on me, ain't no flexing on me, my attorney gon' call and collect. Blessings on blessings for me, my successes only made them envious, they got upset. I had to put all their egos in check. I went